much like White Ra, he's going to choose Shakura's Plateau. However, Jinro knows that Terran is good on this map. White Ra, he's throwing us curveballs, man.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because this map has been complained about by Mr. Bitter countless times. Countless times. He just says Terran is too strong on this map. And I sat down next to Mr. Bitter and I looked at him for 1 second and said, Ben, how does that make you feel? He turns to me and smiles. And he just throws his keyboard.
He's the most adorable rager I've ever met before in my life.
It all starts with the breathing with Ben. It's and then he starts shaking his head. Then he starts blowing with his mouth. Then you hear like the pounding on his keyboard gets louder and louder and louder. And it's only reflective of the headache that's growing inside of his mind until it gets out of control. And all of a sudden out of the corner of my ear I hear, "Stop!" And I'm like, Ben, who are you talking to? And he's like trying to talk to this Terran across the internet.
Dude, he hates Terrans.
He hates Terrans
I
so
don't
much,
understand
especially
it.
on Shakura's Plateau.
Because I'm pretty sure with the buff, Terran is still behind. Like, still behind in the matchup.
I was talking to a couple of Zerg players, and they're like, yeah, Terran just... It's not necessarily that Terrans can't win, it's that Zergs aren't afraid. That there's almost nothing that Terran can do that Zergs are afraid of other than maybe initial cheese. But as soon as they get past that 5-6 minute mark, Zerg says they feel so incredibly comfortable in every matchup.
I win after 5-6 minutes, that's what they're saying.
No, it's exactly that. Like,
I know.
I ask every Zerg. First question I always ask every Zerg nowadays is, what are you afraid of in ZVT? And
that's what I asked them, actually. Yeah.
Everyone says nothing.
They still say early game cheeses, but other than that, it's very minimal. You know, it's interesting because like every single cup that Rotterdam covers in his EU update is like Zerg versus Zerg. Actually, Rotterdam has made that very clear to us that every single final has been Zerg versus Zerg.
Alright, so today's winners is Revival versus Beal. Alright, today's winners is Snoot versus Bly. Okay, today's winner is Nurchio. It's like, alright, today's winner. I'm like, wow. And Rotterdam comes in and he's like, wow.
Like, look at this. Top 8. How many Zergs do you see?
Like, sick. It's like, look at this TSL 4 qualifier. 6 and 8 are Zergs. Oh. So sick, man.
If he wasn't raged before the patch, he's definitely raged after the patch, man. That guy has shown so much remorse.
It's so funny watching Mr. Bitter ladder against Terran with Rotterdam next to his side. He's like, what am I supposed to do against this? And then Ken was like, did you make Roach? And then Bitter's like, this guy's so stupid.
I know. I love them. Dude, they are the funniest pair ever.
Pretty funny indeed. Well, you can see that Sheth in general also has some pretty friendly and comedic banter.
Oh, man.
Citing things from
it actually brought me back,
Android.
Man. Do you know that map?
No. Is that from Brood War?
Oh, yes, it is. Paranoid Android. Think of a 2-player map where one side mines 30% more than the other.
What? Just like naturally?
Yeah.
They get an extra mineral patch?
No. The minerals are closer.
Oh, wow.
And it's played in WCG.
What? So it completely coin flip on how you spawn.
Yeah.
Who won on those maps all the time?
Whoever spawned at 2 o'clock.
Wow.
That's what they were saying. It's the funniest thing in the world. And not
so
only that, like...
why was that map used then? Did it provide good games?
And also, like, think of Lost Temple. You know how close position air?
Yeah.
Think of your close position air, but even closer. That's how it was.
I know. It's like the 2v2 map Tempest, like where you just literally go down the ramp and like your opponent's there, kind of thing. So yeah, Lost Temple used to be pretty wonky in Brood War. But Shakura's Plateau is a new map in Starcraft II. But when I mean new, it's not nearly as old as Paranoid Android or Lost Temple. Wow. It's been around since a couple of years, since Season 2. Jinro is also going for a very interesting timing on Marines on the bunker, but he shouldn't be able to really get that bunker up. You can see the Zerglings getting there just in time to crush it. This has been something more and more common. I remember Marine King at MLG was doing this non-stop to Zergs. He tried to do it against Symbol and just straight up killed the third. because Zergs are not used to that. And that's kind of what Terrans have been trying to do, rethink the times they can.
These little tiny pushes, right, that just, you know, try to catch your opponent off guard and really say, okay, well, you're relying on the queen too much, Zergs. Let me go ahead and punish you for that. But still, I mean, look at this. Roach is already out. Sheth's like, no. I'm okay. I'm not going to, you know, play too greedy. Just get a couple of roaches out for defense and make sure I'm A-okay.
Yeah, and Sheth has been playing pretty well in game number 1, just being able to reactively drone and respond to the mass mech of Jinro. Jinro did go for 3 orbital command after his first barracks. This is very greedy, but I think it's kind of okay on Shakur's Plateau. It's a map where Terran could really split and turtle very easily, especially with the amount of ledges. Now Jinro is stutter stepping his Marines forward. Very dangerous considering how much damage he's taking.
Oh, and nice, taking out the roaches, but still these Zerglings were able to get so much damage off these Marines.
Yeah.
Wow, and Sheth, with only a single gas, is able to do this much damage? Wow. That is
Yeah, he really
bad.
rolled down the Marine count, which means Jinro is just forced to stay in his base that much further.
That's precisely it. I mean, now he pushes out. Let's say he goes out with 2 medevacs. How many units does he really have home in case there is some sort of counterattack? Not a lot. So obviously affecting Jinro quite a bit. And Overlord is going to sneak in here. Let's see how much information it can actually find before Jinro reacts and kills this.
He doesn't really see that much information. He does see the factory and also the starport. He's going to see the reactor as well, so he pretty much knows standard barracks as well as starport, but it is a pretty late starport.
Correct.
The fact that, you know, normally when you go for these kinds of tech plays after your barracks and you double gas, it's around the 9 to 10 minute mark you would have drops already out on the map, but you can see that Jinro doesn't have any of that, so Sheth says, okay, well, he's got to be doing something suspicious. So you can't trust exactly what you see or don't see. That said, I like what Sheth did early on. Remember when we see Targa, his push against Pole also had Roachling, but Targa invested a lot into it while Sheth scaled it back while slowly poking the front. Now that could have been a different story if Jinro ended up going for something besides 3 orbital commands, but I like the fact that Sheth was gently poking while still droning up, and now he has a very healthy drone count compared to what Targa had at 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, Sheth is just looking monstrous at this point, going up to his 4th base in the top left-hand position. Now, Jinro, of course, does have his 3rd, but look at the income tab right now, 50 to 60. You know, he doesn't really have enough SCVs to saturate everything since he has 4 gases. If you can take 4 gases off, that's 12 SCVs. Subtracted out, it's 40 SCVs. That just barely saturates both these bases, and he needs to obviously start, you know, cramming out more SCVs as fast as possible. It's really tough. I mean, like, these triple orbital styles, I think they're just, I don't want to say they're obsolete, but it feels like that. I don't have enough data to actually support that, but it feels like these triple orbital builds have just been crushed ever since, you know, Zergs aren't afraid of these all-ins anymore. They don't have to play this scared style.
It seems, yeah, Zergs have really figured out any kind of 3-base timing, whether it was 2-2 or some kind of huge mech push that we saw Jinro try to do. Anything that Zergs, or anything that Terrans have been trying to play with, Zergs have been feeling really comfortable. A lot has to do with creep spread. A lot has to do with the fact that they realize they can drone.
Correct.
And Zergs are being able to squeeze in more drones. It's almost as if Protoss takes a fast third, and Zerg can jump to 90 drones and immediately gets hive tech. And that's the kind of situation that Jinro might find himself in, especially Sheth has 4 upgrades going simultaneously, while he also has even more gas flexibility. This is really scary for a Terran player.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 6 upgrades.
And look at how far 2-2 is away. Okay, so Sheth, it's a ticking time up. He just has about 2 minutes to prepare for this push. That gives him plenty of time, in my opinion. His own 2-2 will finish as well. So obviously the upgrades will kind of negate off, but more importantly, he's getting his infestors so far in advance that will give him the ability to defend against this creep for quite a long time. Creep actually gives you the ability to crush pushes. It, you know, empowers Banelings, empowers Zerglings. It's just overall good. So he can defend his creep for quite a long time, stay on 4 bases, and basically do whatever he wants. Normally this is a position where you're on 3 bases and then the same situation. But beyond that extra 2 gas, that extra 33% gas really helps out. But maybe not for long. Top left-hand corner, we have a nice little drop.
Yeah, this is exactly what you need to do if you're Jinro. Has to be really cautious with that medevacs, but he does end up clearing out one base for now, while Jinro does have a drop also lined up in the bottom right corner, so lots of action that can happen.
Wow.
But, oh, wow. That was a pretty big connection.
Yes, it was. But he was able to pick up with a couple of units. Now all he's trying to do is just suicide his units. He knows it's so close to dying. Look at this. Oh man, Jinro is actually going over the medevac, just trying to show, hey, I left. And he's going to surprise his opponent. Let's see if Sheth is able to do anything.
Yeah, Sheth does know about this drop now that he has that, but we also have a drop in the top left. Sheth is going to take care of it on both ends. Has to be careful because this double drop has potential to hit tech, and Sheth does not want to lose that, but he's got Infestor and Zerglings in place no matter what, and I feel like Jinro should not be able to do anything.
Very ill-fated. I don't think he can do anything. 2-2 is just about to finish. Oh, wow. This is a bio 2-2, so there is no 2-2 timing. Okay. So no siege tanks in this composition. He's trying to be like Marine King.
Well, he's not even
Marine King
incorporating that many Marauders. It's like only 2. And he's going to go for heavy Marines, like an incredible amount of Marines.
That's going to be difficult against the army composition that Sheth has, and he's very intelligent. He actually includes Banelings in his army composition, which is so important to do against a very heavy medevac style. This style is really good, but obviously relies on your opponent not going Banelings at all, or going a manageable amount of Banelings. And here we have 3-pronged aggression in the main, natural, and the top left-hand position. A little overkill on the top left, but here we go.
You can see Jinro also dropping on the main side, and he's going to try to see if he can just pressure on 3 points, just like you were saying. The fungal on the natural. The drones at the natural do end up getting completely cleaned up, and Jinro does have a worker lead while he's also scanning and pushing the center. Very impressive 3-prong harass attack from Jinro. Now he's also going to load up and scan, take out creep tumors, spread out his units while also dropping at another spot. Jinro doing a very good job, but it's going to be a really hard attempt here to take on the Zerg army. As you can see that Jinro pretty much has army everywhere at this point. He does get surrounded by the middle of the Zergs, but Sheth is also going to push in and continue fungling. Jinro may have spread his units a little bit too much.
Yep, and top left-hand position is getting dropped currently, or nope, maybe not. Medevac is just flying over. There we go. Finally getting dropped, but it's going to die.
Yeah, and you can see that Jinro also just trying to drop everywhere, trying to have his presence known. You can see that he's got units everywhere, but he doesn't have everything close enough to really make bio efficient. They're fighting in small packs against a large amount of Zerg units. And you can see that Jinro does have 3-3 almost done, but at the same time, so does Sheth. So Jinro doesn't really have the availability to hit at a time where he's significantly stronger than the Zerg army.
It's a shame because Jinro is trying to do a style where he just tries to pull his opponent out every which direction. But the problem is, the upgrades have been pretty stable. And not only that, Jinro hasn't been able to do that killing blow, and I really feel it's because of his inactivity in that mid-game stage. He waited until he got 2-2. You can't really do that when you're doing this style. You have to keep going. Now, he could potentially get this hatchery all the way on the top left. But no, again, it lives.
Yeah, but even if he gets that hatchery, he sacrificed a ton of army to get there. That was
probably 1,500 minerals and gas collectively just to do nothing in the top left-hand position. Really not killing a lot, just killing Zerglings, which are, for all intents and purposes, free.
And so this is pretty much exactly what Sheth has wanted, just getting the time so he can get his tier 3 units out. Broodlords already finishing up. Jinro going to try to drop again. I commend Jinro significantly for being able to try to extend his presence and no matter what, not giving up. But his drops aren't that effective. Does manage to pick off the hatchery, but I mean, that actually was not that bad. He traded 1 Marauder for a hatchery, but still.
Yeah,
he has to deal with
things
his army.
Before that is
like, how's he going to deal with this Zergling infested Broodlord army?
I have no clue. He's not going to be able to. Jinro is super far behind at this position. Let's go ahead and look back at his base. He has gotten his 3-3. Of course, both these players have their 3-3. But Marines and Marauders are not a sufficient way to actually go about attacking and killing a Broodlord army. You just cannot do it. That's the technology isn't there.
Yeah, I suppose not. And you can see that immediately Jinro's done a pretty good job controlling creep, but not controlling the the sounds of army from Zerg. You can see the Bane is now finished. Sheth is pushing down the center. One more drop at that third, and Sheth is being pulled back. Jinro doing a good job buying time, but I guess he's just buying time to make more bio. You can't confront his army directly. It's almost reminiscent of just playing like CVP, where you really can't engage because you don't have the proper units. Jinro now getting a Ghost Academy, which would be much more useful a little bit earlier, but he doesn't even have a supply room to make ghosts. Something to commend Sheth about is that he's been able to take out the medevacs consistently. That's something that we haven't seen in games like, you know, MMA versus Stefano, where MMA somehow did a bio style that completely crushed his opponent. Well, he had like 15, 16 medevacs, so that fungal growth basically did no damage at all. Everything would be instantly re-healed. That's something that we don't see, and because of that, infestors are super strong in this position, and they can go ahead, fungal everything, and just crush every single Marine. Talking about crushing, Sheth is completely decimating everything you see. He doesn't even need to fungal everything. Just drop infested Terrans and completely ravage the base of Terran. Jinro trying to stop the bleeding, but it might be too much. He's going to lose his third. And you can see that the infestors aren't done just yet. They still have room for fungal. Jinro trying to stream more units, but he can't really do anything. Now Jinro is all killing stuff back at the main with a good drop, keeping the drone count pretty low. Another good drop here from Jinro, but he's just losing so much back at home. Oh yeah, the Greater Spire does go down, but that is pretty negligible. He's not even worried about that tech right now. He's just trying to deal with Zergling, Infestor, Baneling, and maybe even not Baneling. It's very minimal Banelings, but he had to deal with some of them. Still, he can't. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And with only one base remaining in the bottom right-hand position, protected by a planetary fortress, he doesn't have +2 armor, so it looks like it's going to go down pretty soon. And you can see that Jinro does have more and more forces still in production, but now starting to run a little dry other than that one base. Sheth still has 2 base economy, relatively comfortable if you piece the 2 expansions together to count as one. Sheth does rebuild his Greater Spire, and they're going to lose an expansion, but it doesn't really matter, I think. He just has to make sure that Jinro doesn't impede any further. As long as his infestors can catch everything, as long as he can keep these infestors alive, Sheth will be okay. But a huge opening provided from Jinro. As you can see that he picked off 3 infestors, a very important snipe. And Ultras are going to join the group here, finally. They do have the +2 armor. This should be the nail in the coffin for Frodan. I don't see any way that Jinro can actually stop this. He has retaken his 3rd base, but the fact of the matter is, when you're up against Ultras, you need an alarming amount of units to trade efficiently. There's no way he can trade efficiently here. Yeah, Jinro tries to back off and set up a concave, but the Ultras are just too much. Look at the Banelings making strong connections, and the Marines are falling like fruit flies. As you can see, Sheth laying assault to the 3rd. Yet again, there are a lot of SCVs that are mining right there, and Jinro has to evacuate them, but if he evacuates them, that means there's no one really to repair. And you can see that Sheth is just pressing farther and farther forward, remaking Broodlords and Infestors, while Jinro dips below triple digits in supply. And keep in mind, a huge portion of that supply is in his SCVs. He's only got 7 Marauders and 12 Marines, and that's just not going to be enough against Broodlords. No. Broodlords. Oh my goodness. Well, you know. You know in ladder now, Frodan. Broodlords are like super scary against Terran. Get out the peanuts, Andre. It's Broodlord time. GG gets called. Sheth takes game number 2 and takes the series in a very well-played ZVT from Sheth, and just was able to hold both styles from mech to bio. Yeah, very impressive. And shows comprehensive knowledge of the matchup. And, you know, I think we explained a lot to it, but Sheth obviously taking his early economic advantage and Jinro being crushed every single time. He did really good multi-pronged harass, don't get me wrong, but Sheth is on that level where he can keep up with the multitasking. Actually, I think his multitasking is a bit better than Jinro, and that's why you're able to stop those pushes. Because, let's be honest, Terran multitasking, it's a lot easier to coordinate the attacks rather than to defend the attacks, because to defend them, you need to analyze how many medevacs are being allocated, then you have to bring the appropriate numbers there, etc., etc., etc. It's a lot more work, in my opinion. So Sheth obviously showing remarkable skill in this best of 3 series. That said, we want to thank the sponsor of that game and that series. Thank you to Twitch.tv for partnering with us. Wow. I don't know what I was trying to say. With partnering with us for the stream. Check them out at Twitch.tv in case you guys are watching on some other means of our stream. That's pretty much it for the games. We'll go to our daily recap when we come back, as well as announcements, especially about announcements about this Wednesday and upcoming games. Guys, the regular season play is done. That means we have important things to talk to you guys about how the format will be for the playoffs as well as wildcards and the finals. So stay tuned for more information and a lot of more messages after this commercial.